Welcome back to Chapter 8. We're going to figure out and Lee are going to do, just had kind of a disgusting discovery. So here we go. Chapter 8. Jordan backed out of the tent quickly. "What's up?" Lee asked, coming closer. He tried to see around Jordan to look into the tent. "Wait a minute," Jordan said, placing his hand on his friend's shoulder. "What?" Lee asked. "What's wrong?" Jordan hesitated for a moment. Then he said softly, "Look, Lee, there's a dead man in there." A look of horror seized Lee's face. "A dead man?" he repeated in a faint voice. "Yeah," Jordan said matter-of-factly. "It looks like an older guy. I didn't see any blood or anything. Looks like he died in his sleep." "I'm out of here," Lee said, turning to go. Jordan grabbed his arms. "Don't be stupid, man," he said. "We can fix the hole in the tent and sweep out the snow and spend the night here. It is a place to sleep." "With him?" Lee asked in a shaken voice. "If you think I'm sleeping in a tent with a dead guy—" "No, no. We'll wrap him in that tarp and we'll carry him outside for the night," Jordan said. "We who?" Lee demanded. "I'm not going near that guy." "Take it easy," Jordan said. "It's not a big deal. It's not gory or anything. You can see for yourself." He led Lee into the tent. "See, he just looks like he's sleeping," Jordan said. "He wasn't injured or anything. Come on, it's getting late. Help me carry him out, then we can get settled in here." Lee looked agitated the whole time, but he helped Jordan wrap the dead man in the tarp and take him outside. They laid him on a snowbank near the base of a tree. "So horrible," Lee said as they walked back to the dome tent, "that he died out here." "No, it's not," Jordan said. "He was an old man. He probably loved camping up here, and maybe he just died in his sleep. That's not a bad way to go, dying in your sleep in a place that you love. Now come on, let's go into the tent." "I can't spend the night in there," Lee argued. "Lee, you don't have any choice," Jordan said softly, knowing Lee would come around. "You will die of exposure if you try to sleep out here. Now I'm going in, and if you are smart, you will follow." Jordan crawled into the tent and examined the sleeping bag. It was an expensive, down-filled bag and looked almost new. It would be a great place to sleep. Jordan swept the snow out of the tent with his hands. He found some clothespins, pulled both sides of the tear to the inside, and clipped it shut. "This is a great thing we found, man," Jordan called to Lee, who was still outside. "It's sort of like what you said, that somebody's looking out for us. That's the way it must be, or we would not have found this tent. Somebody wanted us to find this tent." Suddenly Lee crawled inside. "I guess you're right," he said, "and it would be a shame to waste it." He spotted the ice chest in the corner and crawled over to it. "Or to waste whatever in this cooler. I am starving." He quickly scooted over to the ice chest and opened it. "There's a can of something in here. Nope, 2 cans," he cried. "Lunch meat! It's lunch meat! And there's a couple of pops in here, too." "Oh, man," Jordan cried. "That sounds like a feast right now. And look, here's some fishing gear between the sleeping bag and the side of the tent." He crawled over to look into the cooler then. "Open the can of meat, Lee. I'm starving." "It's got one of those pull tops," Lee said. "We don't even need a can opener." They chopped the chunk of luncheon loaf in 2, and each boy took half. Jordan usually hated luncheon meat, even on bread, but this tasted wonderful. Along with the somewhat flat soda, it was the most delicious meal Jordan had ever eaten. "Man, I feel so full," Jordan said when the meat was gone. "That was incredible." "No kidding," said Lee, sitting cross-legged on the floor of the tent. He was silent for a second, then he added, "You sure that guy died of, like, a heart attack, Jordan?" "Huh? Oh, yeah, sure," Jordan said. "Well, some kind of natural cause anyway." "It was just kind of strange, the way he was sprawled out on the floor," he remarked, "almost like he'd been running from something. He wasn't even in the sleeping bag, you know." Now, don't go imagining things. What could he have been running from? He probably just felt sick and wanted to get inside. Maybe he didn't lie down on the sleeping bag because he was afraid he would throw up or something. Maybe a wild animal attacked him and he was running from it. Or maybe he was bitten by something and died. Will you knock it off? Jordan said. Jordan, won't it bother you to sleep in a sleeping bag? Lee asked. Nope, he doesn't need it anymore. But we do, Jordan said. How can you be so cold-hearted? Lee asked. Because I had nothing to do with his being dead, Jordan said. If we don't keep warm, then we will be dead too, right? You know, it's funny that there's no car or truck parked around here. Not even a motorcycle. How did this guy get here anyway? Lee asked. Those snowdrifts are so big, they could be hiding a bus, Jordan pointed out. Or maybe someone came along before we did and stole his car or whatever. Now, will you stop thinking about it? Lee's eyes grew wide. Yeah, maybe whoever came here killed him, he said. And if that happened, then the murderer may still be hanging around. Jordan rolled his eyes. Lee, once and for all, the guy died of natural causes, he said. There was no blood. There was no wounds. So will you just drop it? I want to get an early start tomorrow so we can get out of these mountains. If we sit up all night making dumb conversation, we'll be too tired to walk out tomorrow. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm crawling into that sleeping bag and having my first good night's sleep in days. Lee sat for a few minutes longer, but then he joined Jordan in the sleeping bag. Hey, this is nice and warm, isn't it? He asked. Jordan heard Lee, but he didn't answer. He was too tired to open his mouth. Both boys slept deeply and did not awaken until the new dawn was coloring the snow gold. And then it wasn't the light that woke them, it was the noise outside the tent. What's that? Lee whispered. It's probably just the wind, Jordan said. Go back to sleep. They lay there a few minutes longer and the noise persisted. Something's out there, Lee said. Maybe that guy's back, the one who killed. Jordan interrupted him. If anything, it's probably just some animal foraging for food, he said. Chipmunks, he wondered. Maybe raccoons. Then a thought struck him. A couple of weeks ago, a camper had been mauled by a bear in this same area. Something was scratching the outside of the tent now. A chill went up Jordan's spine. They had zipped the windows shut the night before to keep out the cold, so he couldn't see anything. And he knew that if an attempt to open one now, whatever was out there would hear him. He didn't give Lee's fears of a murderer lurking around a second thought. Why would anyone hang out in a place like this in a blizzard? A bear might. Jordan wasn't sure what to do if a bear attacked or simply took up residence in the campsite for the day. Where's your knife? Jordan asked Lee. Here, Lee replied in a fearful whisper. What are you going to do? I don't know, but I might need it, Jordan replied. Then he yelled in a loud voice, Who's out there? Whoever you are, you better not try and mess with us. We've got weapons. The noise stopped abruptly. Jordan's ears rang with silence. Then it started again. Someone or something was moving around outside the tent. Jordan, Lee whispered with new intensity. You're positive that guy was dead? Jordan looked at Lee in disbelief. You are losing it, man. Of course he was dead. You saw him yourself. Yeah, but maybe he wasn't dead, Lee argued in a shaky voice. Maybe he wants back in his tent. Maybe he wants his sleeping bag back. Then why did it take him all night to realize it? Jordan demanded. Get a grip, Lee. That guy is dead. Jordan was frightened too, but he was absolutely sure of one thing. When they had wrapped that man in the tarp and took him outside, he was dead. There was no doubt in Jordan's mind. It's the end of chapter 9, or of chapter 8. I want you to go ahead and summarize that in Canvas, and then we'll return to chapter 9 next time and figure out what that noise that they are hearing outside the tent was.